Hello everyone, welcome back to Atreyu Crochet. So in today's video, we're going to be making this beautiful cat beanie with ears, cat ear beanie. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Things you will need include a pair of scissors, okay? You're going to need a darning weaving tapestry needle. You're going to need one skein of yarn, however I'm going to be using 3 different colors, 3 rounds per each color. And then you'll need a crochet hook. I'm using size J, 6mm US. Let's get to it. So we're going to start out with a slip knot, wrap it around your finger, twist exchange, wrap it around your finger in the other direction. Now we're going to pull the back loop over the front one and off your finger while lifting up on the one on your finger. Insert your crochet hook, and then we're going to pull to tighten. And we're just going to start crocheting some chains. The number of chains that you crochet will be directly related to the circumference of the head that you're making it for. For me, I ended up making 58 chains for my cat ear beanie. Okay, so now I want to show you, and as an example, I got my styrofoam head. I've crocheted my 58 chains, and I just want to check to make sure it goes all the way around the head. Okay, you'll do this for whoever you're making it for, whether it's a child, an adult, you need their circumference. So now I have laid out my chains, and I just want to make sure I emphasize that they need to all be on the same side. Right now you're looking at the front of the chains. Okay, now I am going to kind of circle it around so that the beginning is meeting up with the end. And I'm going to be working in the back of the chains. Okay, in the back, that's where you have the Godzilla notches, those nodules. I'm just going to insert my crochet hook into that first chain, and then I'm going to slip stitch. So I'll yarn over, and then I'm going to pull all the way through. Okay, so on the right side of your hook, you see the faces of the chains, but on the left side, the chains that I'm working through the back. Okay, so now we're going to chain 2. And exactly where we went in to slip stitch that first chain, that's where we're going to put our first double crochet. Okay, so I'm chaining 2, and then you see I'm identifying where we're going to insert our crochet hook to create that first double crochet. Okay, so to make a double crochet, we're going to yarn over, insert our crochet hook into the previously identified target area, and then we're going to yarn over, pull through to the front for 3 loops. So now we're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. 1, 2, and then we're going to do that again. We're going to yarn over and go through the last 2 loops. Going through 1, and then finally going through 2. And then we're going to go into the next chain, which is there. So we'll repeat the process, yarn over, enter the chain through the back side. Okay, so you're entering just above that notch, yarning over, pulling through to the front for 3 loops, and then yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 2, 1, 2. Here is where the next chain is. Okay, inserting our crochet hook exactly right there, just above that center notch. Yarn over, enter the chain, yarn over, pull through to the front for 3 loops, yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2, yarn over, go through 2, 1 and 2. We'll continue putting 1 double crochet around. So now we're almost completely back around, and I have just a few more chains. I'm still working in the back loops. You're going to notice that I'm looking at the front side of all the double crochets. That's what you want, although we're still working in the back loops of the chains. And as I said before, don't worry, it will work out. So just continue entering the chains, making your double crochets, inserting your hook just above the notches. Okay, and you're going to see that there's going to be a tendency for the beginning where you first started, those double crochets, for them to angle down. But we're going to correct that before we slip stitch and bring everything together. Okay, so see how it went down? I just rotated it up. I'm going to bypass that chain 2, and I'm going to slip stitch into the first actual double crochet, slicing the icing off the top of the cake, yarning over, and then pulling all the way through. So now I'm going to chain 2, and exactly where I slip stitched, I'm going to show you, okay, right there, that's where I'm going to put my double crochet. Okay, that double crochet of every round at the beginning always goes exactly in the same place where you slip stitched. And I'm just going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch around, slicing the icing off the top of the cake. I'm going to continue in this fashion, and I will meet you once I get back around. See you there. Alright, 1 more double crochet to make, slicing the icing off the top of the cake and making that double crochet. And now, once again, we're going to bypass that chain 2 and we're going to slip stitch into the first actual double crochet. Guess what? We're going to chain 2. And we're going to insert our double crochet right where we slip stitch, just as I showed you before. So make your double crochet and then continue in that fashion on around. Alright, so I have crocheted 3 rounds of the blue, or almost, 1 more to go, 1 more stitch to go. And now I'm going to change colors, okay? So I'm going to start the slip stitch like I would normally, but I'm not going to finish it. I'm going to bring in the other color. So I'm going to loop that on, and I'm going to pull that through, completing the slip stitch. The reason we do this like this is so that as soon as we start our chain 2, we're starting it in the new color. Okay. So now I'm going to tie a couple of knots between the tail of the new color and the working yarn, okay, that we just dropped. So tie your first knot, and then kind of adjust things as you need to make sure the loop is sufficiently big on your crochet hook, and then you can go ahead and tie your second knot. After we have our 2 knots made, then we're going to line up the tail and then cut the former yarn, the blue in this case. And you can make your tail shorter, but I just wanted to make sure they were of equal length. So now I'm going to continue like normal, chaining 2, and as always, exactly where I slip stitch, that's where I'm going to go in to put my first double crochet. However, I'm going to crochet over the tails, okay? So I'm going to start my double crochet, and then I'm going to make sure the tails are on top. This is so that I don't have to weave them in later. So we're going to crochet a total of 18 rounds. This is the 4th one, and I'm changing colors every 3 rounds. And you're going to see that I'm going to end in the white, okay? So total of 18 rounds. Continue in that fashion for 18 rounds. Alright, finishing up my 18th round, I'm bypassing the chain 2 and slip stitching in the top of the first double crochet. I'm going to chain 1 and leave myself some excess yarn because I'm going to use that to seal up the top. I'll cut my yarn and then I'm going to pull that through. You don't need to leave that much yarn, but I just wanted to really emphasize the fact that you need to leave yourself some excess yarn. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to grab our darning weaving tapestry needle, and we're going to put the yarn in the needle, pull it through, and then you can actually tie a little loose knot just so it doesn't come undone. Now we're going to take the darning weaving tapestry needle and the yarn that's attached to it, and we're going to stick it on the inside, and we're going to turn our cat beanie or cat ear beanie inside out. The reason I do that is so that the stitching is not displayed on the outside. Okay, now notice that where the yarn is, I made that into the corner, so I'm going to make that my left corner. So just rearrange your cat beanie in whatever way you need to so that where that yarn starts, that will be designated as the left corner, and that's where we're going to start stitching this up. Okay, you may have to rotate a little bit, but you'll get there. So now we're going to work on the outside loops of the different stitches. Okay, so on the side closest to us, so that's the entire loop. On the side closest to us, you're going to see that I'm going to insert my needle into the outside loop, and then I'm going to find the corresponding outside loop on the other side. So basically, for each top, you have 2 loops, right? You want to go through the outside loops of each top. So that outside loop and then the other outside loop, and then you'll pull to the other side. Now we're going to go from that side back towards us for the next set, the next 2. Okay, so find the outside loop on that side and then the outside loop on our side and pull through. Then we go to the next set of tops and still working, okay, the outside loops. Okay, so the outside loop on my side, going to the outside loop on the other side, and then you'll bring it together. Just make sure you're actually lining up the chains so that you don't get any bunches in your work. And yeah, I'm just really taking my time, making sure they're lined up, making sure I'm seeing what I need to see. Okay, outside loop on that side, outside loop on my side, and then pull. And then I find the next two corresponding chains, or chain tops, or double crochet tops. They look like chains. And I just continue in that fashion. Outside, outside. And you're going to notice that it's going to cause the two inside loops of those tops to kind of come together. Here's another view. I'm hoping, just in case it wasn't clear, that this helps, because I know it can be a little bit challenging, especially since it's white yarn. You know, people usually say, oh, I use lighter colors, but sometimes lighter colors are not that great. So outside loop, going to the corresponding outside loop on the other side. Going from one direction to the other. Here's the final take that I wanted to show you. Still just trying to make sure you guys have a good idea of where I'm inserting that needle. Still working through the outside loops from one side to the other, and then doing the reverse, going back to the other side. Continue in that fashion till we get to the other end. All right, so I'm almost done working in those outside loops. And now I'm basically at that corner, so I'm just gonna insert my needle through that final stitch. But as I close it, I'm gonna tie a knot. So I'm gonna put the needle through the loop, and then as I pull, you'll see that a knot will be created. Okay. All right, so now we have all this excess yarn. We're not going to use it all, but I am going to use this as an opportunity to weave it in through some stitches, just so if it ever comes out, I have some excess yarn to work with. So I'll weave it in through some stitches in one direction, and as always, I'll go back in the other direction. Make sure you kind of straighten it back out. You don't want it to be bunched after you've weaved in your yarn. You don't want to distort your work. So now I'm going to go in the other direction, taking a slightly different path out to the side, pulling the yarn through, and then once I get it all the way through, I'm going to cut my yarn. Alright, you guys remember that beginning tail? We're going to weave that in as well. So just put the yarn through your needle and go through some nearby stitches of the same color in one direction, as always. And then we're going to take a slightly different path, going back in the opposite direction. Okay, you guys should be experts at weaving in your tails now. Once you get it through, you can cut your yarn down. All right, and this is our cat beanie. All we need to do is turn it inside out and put it on. Okay, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. It's really fun, it's really easy, it's great for beginners, very simple, and I'll show you some pictures of what it looks like at the end. Okay, alright guys, that's gonna be it for this video, but you know I will see you in the next one. In the meantime, happy crocheting, enjoy those cat ears. So the first picture is me with it on display. You can see the cat ears, and the second one, which I think looks much better, it's a much better model than me, is the styrofoam head. Make yours today.